So today we're going to be estimating square roots as decimals. This is the second video that we're looking at where if we take each one of these individual problems, we can plug it into a calculator and get it done immediately. But we're not going to be doing that because this is structured for the end of course test, which is going to be on a non-calculator version. So, albeit it doesn't say it in the instructions, we're going to be doing this entire subset of questions without using a calculator and seeing how we come up with our answers. So the whole idea of calculating square roots is that all of our given problems are not perfect squares. 14, 48, 151, 24, they're not perfect squares. So how do we figure out what the square root of 14 is if it doesn't have a perfect square root? Well, it's going to involve a two-step process. One is a given we check to see where it's between, and one is a good guess. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to go ahead and fill out our perfect square tables. Now, what this is going to do is mean, I'm going to do this in red, perfect square tables. So 1 times 1 is going to be 1. 2 by 2 is 4. 3 by 3 is 9. 4 by 4 is 16. 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100, 121, 144, 169, 196, and 225. So we've got our list of perfect squares. This is going to be necessary in order to evaluate what we have. Now, again, we mentioned in a previous video the importance of knowing our multiplication tables for skills like this. How do we do it? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to take our first example. Let's take a look at 14. And we're going to try and find where 14 exists on our perfect square number line. So I notice 14 is between 9 and 16. So I know that the square root of 14 is going to be something between 3.1 or somewhere between 3 and 4. Now, whether that's 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, 3.4, 3.5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or all the way up to 4 is anybody's guess. So we're going to have to go ahead and plug in a few guesses. And now, as opposed to plugging in each one of these guesses where I add a decimal onto the end of 3, there's a way to kind of cut it down. I'm going to say, okay, 14 is much closer to 16 than it is to 9. So I'm going to pick decimals that are closer to 4 than they are to 3, which means I'm going to pick things like 3.7, 3.8, and 3.9. And those are going to be my 3 guesses to start, and I'm going to see which one is the closest. So let's go ahead and try that out on number 1. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do several guesses, which means we said we were going to try a 3.7, 3.8, and 3.9. We're going to see which one is the closest. So if I want to say 3.7 times 3.7, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to square this, which means that, let's see, this is number 1. Okay, so 7 by 7 is 49, carry my 4. 7 by 3 is 21, plus my 4 is 25. Hold my 0. 3 by 7 is 21, carry my 2. 3 by 3 is 9. 11, I got 9, 6, 3, 1. What I know is that I had 2 decimals, so I have 2 decimals in my final answer. I have 13.69. So let's zoom in a little bit more so we can see this a little better. Okay, so my 13.69, this is going to be, as far as compared to the square root of 14, I'm a little low here, and I am under by 0.31. And I'm going to see if these are a little closer. Well, now if this is under, that means I need to move up. So I'm going to try 3.8 and see how that is as a guess. So 3.8 times 3.8, I'll just do this again. 8 by 8 is 64, carry the 6. 24 plus 3 is 30, hold my 0. 3 times 8 is 24, carry the 2. That's 9 plus 2 is 11. 4, 4, 4, 1. I had 2 decimals in the original, 2 decimals in the final answer. I'm now at 14.44. This one is over by 0.44. Okay? So now if this was under, I had to move up. This is over, which means I do not need to try out my guess of 3.9, because if this was over, this is going to be even further over. So it's going to be one of these two. Am I going to choose the under one or the over one? Well, it's going to be whichever one is closest. In this case, it's going to be our 3.7. So I know the square root of 14 is going to be roughly equal to 3.7. Awesome, and that's all it takes to figure out what the closest square root is to the nearest 10th. Now, if we wanted to do the 100th, what I would do is I'd repeat this process again and say, I'd pick another decimal like 3.71, 3.72, all the way up to 3.8, and basically I'd create a subset. But we're only concerned with the 10th, so I'm not too worried about what's going on there. So next up, let's take a look at number 3. Okay? So at number 3, I'm looking at the square root of 48. So if I take 48 and I go back to my list of perfect squares, well, 48 falls in between 36 and 49, which means the square root of 48 is going to be some number between 6 and 7. I don't know if it's 6.1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, or is it the number 7? So what I'm going to do is I could plug in each one of these, or I could take a guess and say, well, 48 is really close to 49, so I'm going to pick these over here, which are closest to 7. So let's go ahead and do that. So we said that our 3 guesses were going to be, these are between 6 and 7, and they're going to be the higher end, so I'm going to pick 6.7, 6.8, and 6.9, and see which of these is the closest. Well, with 6.7, I'm going to go ahead and square that. Let's see, that's going to be 49, carry the 4. That's going to be 42 plus 4 is 46. Hold my 0. That is going to be 42, carry the 4, 36, 40, 9, 8, 4, 4. I had 2 decimals in my original, 2 decimals in my final. I have 44.89. I'm actually really off on this. I am under by, let's see, 48. That's going to be, let's see, 45, 3.11. I'm way off, which means I definitely need to move up and try either 6.8, or I could skip 6.8 and move straight to 6.9. I'm going to try 6.8 just so we can see that we're getting closer to it. You can go ahead and skip 6.8 and do 6.9, but I'm going to do the long way. So if I have 6.8 times 6.8, let's see, that's 4, 64. That's going to be 48 plus 6, which is 54. Hold my 0. 6.8 is going to be 48. Carry my 4, 36. That is 40. 4, 2, carry my 1, 6, 4. 2 decimals, 2 decimal. So what we see here is that we got closer to the square root. I'm trying to get 48. I got 44. Now I've gotten 46. I'm moving in the right direction, but again, what we knew is that we were going to be under, in this case by 1.76. So again, we're getting closer. We're going to go ahead and try 6.9 now, which is what I recommended that we should have done by seeing how far under we were. So we should have just jumped over to 6.9 and tried that. But no worries, I think we're seeing what we're doing here a little better this way. So 9 by 9 gives me 81, carry the 8, 54 plus 8 is going to be 62. Hold my 0, that's going to be 54, carry the 5, 41. Let's see, that's going to be a 1, 6, 7, 4. I have 2 decimals, 2 decimals. Okay, so I'm still under, but I'm a lot closer. This I'm only under by a few decimals. So here I'm under by 0.39. Okay, so in this case, because I'm still under, the only thing left that I can do is I can move up to the next whole number, which would be go up by another 10th. That'd be 7.0. And if I take 7.0 times 7.0, we know this is going to be 49. So if I have 49.0, this is going to be over by 1.00. And so what I notice is it's going to come down to these two. 48 is between 47.61 and 49. The closer of the two is going to be this one. That's the closest one out of every number that I tried. It's still a little bit under, but it's the best estimate to the nearest 10th. And again, if I needed to go to the nearest 100th, I'd start picking decimals between these two values because that's where I cross over my square root. But we don't need to worry about that. That's a lesson for another day. This one, I know the square root of 48 is going to be roughly equal to, let's see, 6.9. Awesome. And so now that we've kind of seen that, let's jump off into another one. So let's try number 5. Okay. So number 5 says I'm taking 2 times the root of 67. So in essence, all I need to do right here is I need to do the same process to estimating this square root so that I can then double it. So for number 5, what I'm checking for is I'm checking for the square root of 67. Let's take a look at what that will entail. Okay, so 67 is going to be between 64 and 81, which means the square root of this is going to be some decimal between 8 and 9. Could be 8.1, 8.2, 8.3, 8.4, 8.5, 8.6, 8.7, 8.8, or 8.9. But because I know that 67 is really close to 8, I'm going to pick the lower of the square. So I'm going to pick 8.1, 8.2, and 8.3 and see which one's the closest and where I need to go from there. So we said 8.1, 8.2, and 8.3. So let's go ahead and give that a shot. Let's arrange this just like that. So I have 8.1, 8.2, and 8.3. Let's see which one of these works out. So 8.1, I'm going to square this. 1, 8, hold my 0, 8, 64. Let's add this up. 1, 6, carry my 1, 5, 6. I have 2 decimals, which means 2 decimals in my final answer. Okay, so I'm a little under right now. And I'm under by, let's see, 5. That would be 1.39 to get to 67. So I'm going to move up because I'm under. So I'm going to move to the next one, 8.2. So if I have 8.2, let's go ahead and square that. 4, 16, hold my 0, 16, carry my 1, 64, 65. 4, 2, carry my 1, 7, 6. Well, looks like I'm doing a little bit better. Okay, so now I'm at 67.24, which means I have now gone over by 0.24. So because I went from under to over, I know that the square root of 67 is between these two numbers, which means the root is between 8.1 and 8.2. Which one's closer? Well, 8.2 is the closer of the two options. So I'm going to say that a good estimate of 67 is going to be 8.2. Okay. So that means that when I work this problem, I have 2 times my best estimate of 67 is going to be 8.2. So if I multiply 8.2 times 2, I will get 16.4 approximately. There we go. So we see the process isn't really any different. So what I want you to try is I want you to try number 7 and see how well you do on that one. So go ahead and try out number 7, pause the video, unpause it when you're done, and see how well you did. Okay, so now that you've had a chance to try this one out, let's take a look. I'm trying to estimate the square root of 115, which we know if we take a look at our perfect square table, 115 is between 100 and 121. So I know that the square root of 115 is somewhere between 10 and 11. I don't know if it's 10.1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 10.9. So I'm going to take a look, and I'm going to reduce these guesses down to maybe 2 or 3. 115, it's 15 away from 100 or 6 away from 11. So let's see. It's going to be probably somewhere in this range. So it's on the higher end. I don't think it's 10.9. But how about 10.6, 10.7, and 10.8? Let's try those 3 out because it's on the higher end. So let's see how that goes. 10.6, 10.7, and 10.8. Let's see how this turns out. Actually, let's zoom out just a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to take 10.6, 10.7, and 10.8 and see where we're going. So 10.6, 6 by 6 is 36, carry the 3, that's 0 plus 3, 6, hold my 0, 0, 0, 0, hold 2 zeros, 6, 0, 1. Add them up, 6, 3, that's a 2 if we believe it, really hard. Carry my 1, there we go. 2 decimals, 2 decimals. I have 112.36, so I'm a little bit under on that one. Not too far under, but we'll see how far. So that's mean that's going to be 2.64 under. Okay. Now, I could jump all the way up to 10.8 and give that a shot, but I'm not close enough to really want to make that jump. So I'm going to try 10.7 next and see where we're at. 10.7, 49, that's 0 plus 4 and 7. Hold my 0, I get 0, 0, 0. Hold 2 zeros, I get 7, 0, 1. Okay. So take that 9, 4, 4, carry my 1, 1, 1. Let's see, I had 2 decimals, which means I have 2 decimals in the final. Ooh, and I'm really close here. I am 0.51 under. So I'm moving in the right direction, which means I bet you I'm going to pass it in 10.8. So I just really need to compare my 2 answers and see which one of these is going to be closer. Let's go ahead and do 10.8 and see where we end up. 64, carry my 6, 0 plus 6, 8. Hold my 0, 0, 0, 0. Hold 2 zeros, and I get 8, 0, 1. 4, 6, 6, carry my 1. I'm at 116. I have 2 decimals. Boom. So yes, we did exactly what we thought. I went from under to over. In this case, I'm 1.64 over. Oop. Which means out of the 2, the under and the over one, my actual square root of 115 is some decimal between 10.7 and 10.8. Not worried about the secondary decimal, but I do know that 10.7 is going to be the closer of the 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say right here is that this is going to be 8 times the best estimate that I have is going to be 10.7. And so if I multiply those 2, let's see, 7 times 8 is 56. Carry the 5, 0 plus 5, 8. Carry my decimal. I had 1 decimal in the original, so I have 1 decimal in my answer. And it's going to be approximately equal to 85.6. There we go. Okay. It's going to bring us to question 9, which in this case, it's an addition problem, but the process remains the same. How we're going to work number 9 is going to simply be, okay, I need to find the estimate of the square root of 218, which I know is between 121 and 225. Again, because I know that it's going to be here. It's going to be closer to the 225, which means I'm going to pick numbers closer to 15. So I'm going to probably pick 14.7, 14.8, and 14.9 as my original guesses. So let's see how this one works out. We said 14.7, 14.8, and 14.9. Okay? 14.7, 9, carry the 4, 28, 32, carry the 3, 7, hold my 0, 4 is 28, carry the 2, 16 plus 2 is 18, carry the 1, 5, hold 2 zeros, that's 7, 4, 1, 9, 0, carry the 1, that's 16, carry the 1, 9, 10, 11, carry the 1, 2. I had 2 decimals in the original, which means I'm right there. So I'm almost at my 218. I'm just a little bit below. So I am under by 1.81. No, not 1.81. That's 1.91. Okay, so I'm really close right here. I'm only a little bit under. If I move up a little bit, I should get a little closer, if not pass it up. So I'm hoping that I'm going to pass it up so that way I can be done. 8 by 8 is 64, carry the 6. 8 by 4 is 32, plus 6 is 38, carry the 3. That's 11, hold the 0. 8 by 4 is 32, carry the 3, That's 16 plus 3 is 19, carry the 1. 4 plus 1 is 5. Hold 2 zeros, and I have 8, 4, 1. 4, 0, carry my 1, that's 10, that's 19, carry the 1, 9, 10, 11, carry the 1, so that's going to be 2, 219. And I had 2 decimals in the original, 2 decimals in the final, and just like we wanted it, we're over this time by 1.04. Awesome, so because we passed the square root between these two values, I'm going to take a look at which one's closer. In this case, it's the 14.8. So that means that I'm going to estimate that that is going to be the closest to 2 plus 14.8, which is going to give me an approximate answer of 16.8. So we've seen several examples of how this works. So what I want you to do is on number 11, I want you to give this a shot. We're going to flip this around. Try and do this on your own. Go ahead and pause the video, unpause it when you're done, and see how well you did. Okay. So when I'm looking at this one, I know that the square root of 99 is between 81 and 100. It's really close to 100, so I have any range from 9.1, 9.2, 9.3, all the way up to 9.9. Because it's really close to that, I'm literally going to try probably just these two, maybe even that one, simply because it's one away. So I'm going to go with the last decimal place, so 0.9. Let's see how that works. So 9.9 is all I'm actually going to try. Let's see, that's 81, carry the 8. That's 81 again, plus 8 is 89. Hold my 0, and I get the same three numbers, 1, 9, 8, add them up. Carry the 1, 18, carry the 1, 9. I have 2 decimals, which means 2 decimals right here. Ooh, and I'm glad that we started at the top because I am still under. I'm under by 0.99. Okay. I know that I have to move up. There's no room to move up, so the next decimal place that I could move up is 10.0. And I know that if I square 10.0, I'm going to get 100.00, which means that I would be over by 1. And so between the two, it's 1/100th of a difference. The best of the two options is going to be my 0.9, or not my 0.99, my 9.9 is my best estimate. So I'm going to say this is close to 3 minus 9.9. And 3 minus 9.9 is going to give me negative 6.9 approximately. And there we go. That's how we estimate square roots as decimals. Again, this is not designed to be a calculator section. This is designed to be practice for that portion of the test that does not use a calculator. And there you go.